A little Chazara, Rabbi Say, please forgive me. We already learned a bunch of lines, but since we have a huge viewing audience on TorahAnytime.com, we're going to review it very quickly for our Torah Anytime audience. 5 lines from the bottom of Ayin Vav Amud Beis. Ikadamrei, Saimua Kamei. Some say that they did say to Rav that if the worker came and there was no grain to carry, or if the worker came and the field was moist, he gets like a poil bottle. But this is what Rav said. Chavivi Amar, my uncle said, if it would have been I wouldn't give the worker anything. That Amrit, and you say kapoil bottle, that you pay him like an idle worker. The Brisa says that you do pay him like an idle worker. So it's going to like kasha the sayrula aramida. If the workers saw the land from the night before and they saw it was moist, so then the workers lose out because they should have anticipated that it might be moist the next day and they won't be able to work. But if they didn't view it from the night before, so then the employer suffers the loss because he should have told them about it, and therefore he has to pay them like a pill bottle. If he hired workers to make ditches, and rain came, and it filled up the field with water. If the workers saw the field from the night before, so they had a good idea that the field might not be able to be worked today, so then say to the Pilim, then the workers lose out. If they didn't oversee the land, they didn't know about a local rain, and therefore they didn't know they wouldn't have work the day after. Since the employer didn't tell him anything, say to the Balabayas, v'yovlu, and then he has to give them kapayel bottle like an idle worker. V'amar Rava, and further Rava says, Hayman the ogir agure ledavla, if he hired workers to irrigate the field, v'asa mitra, and it rained, so therefore workers know that it rained, so they knew they wouldn't be needed because it was naturally irrigated by the rain. Say to the Pailim, then it's a loss to the workers. Asa Nara, if the river overflowed, something that the workers couldn't know about it, then say to the Balabayas, because he should have informed them, v'yavlu kapel batal, he has to give them like an idle worker. If a person hired workers to irrigate the field, or pasuk nara b'palgid yuma, and the water source gets exhausted at midday. Eloy of the pasuk, if it usually does not exhaust at midday, so then he could tell the workers mazlok garam and say to the pilim, it's a loss to the workers. Of the pasuk, if it's often that by midday, because of all the fields draining the source, it dries up at midday. So Ibn Masa, if the workers are people of the town, so they know that this is the case, so then say to the Pilim, they know that this is might happen, and they accepted the work on that condition, and therefore they only get paid for the amount of time that they worked. However, Labane Masa, but if they don't know, and therefore the employer had the burden of telling them, and since he didn't tell them, say to the Balabayas. Vamarava. If, as we said, Irving hired Marshall to trim his bushes, and he hired him for the day, from 9 to 5. And he promised him to pay him $100 from 9 to 5. Because Marshall takes less than the minimum wage, right? So he hired him for $100 for, whoa, you got a lot of people waiting over here. He hired him for $100 for the 9 to 5, and Vishalom Avidit to Bepalgid Yuma, and Marshall finished the job at 12 o'clock. So if Irving has some easier work for him to do, to throw out the garbage, Yavlu, he could give him the easier work to do. Inami de kavosa, or similar type of work. He trims the hedges by the office. Then mifkilu, then he could ask him to do it until 5, because he hired him until 5. The kashmina, but if he had work only of a harder nature, to carry bricks, then loy mifkilu, he can't ask him to do work of a harder nature, because that's not in the, so to speak, in the arrangement, and therefore he has to pay him from 9 to 5, and he can only give him easier work or similar work, but not harder work. Says the Gemara, a very interesting kasha, but why for the rest of the day does he have to give Marshall? Why for the rest of the day does he have to give Marshall a full wage? You should only give him for the rest of the day, less like a person would pay to be idle. Says the Gemara, you know why? Rava is talking about achlushe de mechuzah, the husky porters of mechuzah, that if they go idle, they become weak, and therefore not working is no benefit for them. The Eloi of de cholshe. Rabbi say, I want to tell you, my friend Yitzi Kurtzer, Dr. Kurtzer, told me an amazing rush over here. The rush says it's the same thing with a Rebbe in school. If the boy that he's supposed to teach doesn't show up, you have to pay him. And it's not enough to pay him like a poil bottle, because if the Rebbe goes a day without teaching, he becomes weak in his teaching. Teaching also needs, you want a Maggid Shir that says Shir all the time, even when he vomits, right? He says Shir all the time. You don't want him to go weak on you, says the Gemara. Amamar. We learned, Shamin lohen es masha asu. Here we're talking about a case where I hire, we're talking about a case that I hire Nachman to work for 2 slime. Now remember, 2 slime, a seller is 4 dinner. So therefore, I hire him to work for me and do the job for 8 dinner. And he stops in middle of the work. So Amamar Shaman Lahem Es Masha Awesome. We evaluate what he did. Ketzad Hayayafa Shisha Dinarin. In the event that the remainder of the job will take 6 dinner, in other words, the price of the work went up, and the remainder of the job, instead of being 4 dinner, another seller, will be 6 dinner. Nice and lamb seller. The din is that I have to give Nachman a seller for the half that he did. So Kesavre Rabbanan, the Rabbanan hold that Yad Poyel al Yaina. Nachman has the upper hand, even though I could say to Nachman, look, Nachman, if you would have done the whole job, I would only have to pay you 8. Now, because you stopped, I have to pay you a seller, and then another worker to do the other half 6. And therefore it comes out that I'm going to have to pay, instead of 8, I'm going to have to pay 10. But even so, Nachman still could claim a seller for his half of the job. Says the Gemara, or Yigmaru Malachtan, or Nachman finishes the job, V'yitnu Shnei Slam, and he takes the 2 seller that we arranged, the 8 dinner that we arranged. So the Gemara says, well, Pshita, That's obvious. Of course, if he finishes the job, he gets 2 seller like the original arrangement was. Says the Gemara, late tzricha, the Gemara says that the chiddush is, it's talking about a case where the iyakar avidita, well, where the cost of the job went up. Like we said, the cost of the job went up from 4 dinner to 6 dinner. The imru payalim, and what happened is the workers refused to finish the job because they figured they'll go somewhere else and get more money. The ozil balabaya sufaisinu, and what happened is I went to Nachman and I appeased them to finish the job. So Maud is saying Mamatzi Amrulay that Nachman could tell you could tell me, Ki mefaisinon, that which you appeased me, adaita the tofel on agra, that you'll give me the extra 2 dinner. In other words, instead of a seller for the rest of the job, you'll give me an extra 2 dinner. Kamash malon da amalahu, that I could tell them, adaita the terachnu l'chu b'achilushti. I only had in mind that if you stay, I'll give you a nice supper. I'll give you a nice supper, a little Pepsi with it, and 2 francs, and I'll throw in sauerkraut, mustard, and that's enough. Now, it says in the Brisa, seller, if the price is a seller, nice lamb seller. I give Nachman a seller for the half of the work that he did. So, of course, pshita, that's obvious. We made up 2 slum. If he does half, so I give him a seller. What's the chiddush? Says the Gemara, light tzricha, the chiddush is the zola vidita meikar. When we made up the deal, the price for the work was not a seller. The price for the work was only 3 dinner. Va'agrinu the work, I forget about what I said about a dinner. Let me not make a case different than the Gemara. What happened is that the work initially was cheap, and Nachman, for cheap pay, he wasn't so excited to do the work for me. So va'agrinu b'tvei zuzah. So therefore, I promised him a seller, which was more than the rate. But ulisayif ayakar avidita. At the end, it went up. So therefore, since I promised him an extra zuz, maybe I have to give him now an extra zuz over the current price. The kam b'tvei zuzah, and it's now more a zuz. Now the same, I think, that Nachman could tell me, tvei zuzah amratlan, you were promising me a zuz more than the going rate. So tvei zuz havlan, so give me now a zuz more than a seller, give me now a zuz more than the current going rate. Kamash malanda amalahu, that I could tell Nachman, ki amru l'chu tvei zuzah. The reason why I offered you a zuz more is because the le'avi kimluchu, because I couldn't be confident that I would get you to work. I couldn't be confident that I would get you to work because the price was so low. But hashta kimluchu, now that the price is a seller, I know that people will work for a seller, and therefore I'm not giving an incentive over that. Now Rabbi Daisa says that I tell Nachman, hey, listen here, Nachman, we made up 2 seller. If you live in middle of a job, I'm going to have to get somebody to do it for the rest, the other half. And now, instead of it being a seller, it's 6 zuz. You're messing me up. And therefore, if I have to pay the other guy 6 zuz, I commissioned you to do the whole job for 8. If I'm going to have to pay him 6, you're only going to get for your half 2. Or stay and get 8. But don't mess me around. So let's see that inside. See, some people are having connection problems tonight. So Rabbi Daisa Aimer, Shaman lehen es mashe osid lihe osis. We evaluate how much I'm going to have to pay for the rest of the job. So yafa shisha dinarim, if the rest of the job went up from a seller, half of the job went up from a seller, which is 4 dinar, to 6 dinarim, so then I tell Nachman, look, I hired you for 2 seller, which is 8 dinar. If you do the whole job, that's what you'll get. But if you stop in middle, I'm going to have to pay the second set of worker, the next worker, I'm going to have to give him 6 dinar. So then all that's left from the 8 is 2, which is a shekel. That's all you're going to get. Why? Because the worker is, has the weaker hand. Or Yigmaru Malachton, or I tell Nachman, finish the job, and then you'll get 2 seller the way we made up. So the Gemara says, well, Pshita, duh. If he finishes the job, why wouldn't I pay Nachman what we made up? Says the Gemara, it's talking about the Zola Vidita. Before the job was completed, the price of work went down. The Eimer Balabayas and the Balabayas, wanted to refuse and say that I don't want you, Nachman, to finish the job because I could get the workers cheaper. And Nachman appeased me and said, let me finish the job. So I might think, I could say, you appeased me to finish the job, but at the cheaper rate. That I should be able to deduct from the work according to the lower wage that's now. The Chiddush is that Nachman says, no, you were persuaded to keep me because I do good work. You decided to keep me because I do a good job. Seller, if let's say the work that needs to be done yet is a seller, then Noisalam seller. Then I have to give Nachman a seller. Well, pshita, that's obvious. What's the chiddush? So again, Amarav Huna Breid Rav Nasan, Loitzricha de Izilu Inu Gabezuze Meikar. What happened is that Nachman gave me a discount of a zuz from the beginning. Initially, he gave me a discount of a zuz, and then ulisayif zalavidita, and then the price of the wage of the work went down. Mao the same, I might think, Batzer Zuza Amrisuli. I could say to Nachman, you told me that you're offering me a zuz less, so now that the price went down, Batzer Zuza Yoevnulchu, I'll give you a zuz less from the price that it is now, from the lesser price. Kamash Malanda Amrulay, that Nachman could told me, when did we tell you that we'll give you a discount of a zuz, because we weren't sure we would get the job. But once you hired us already, kimlach, we know we have the job. We don't have to give you a zuz less than a cheaper rate. Amarav, halacha Reb Daisa. The halacha is like Reb Daisa, that the yad poyel ala tachtoina, and therefore, if the price went down and Nachman wants to renege in the middle of the deal, then if the whole job is 8 and the second half is going to cost me 6, then he only gets 2. He only gets a shekel. Says the Gemara, Omi Amar Rav Hachi. Does Rav say that the Yad Poel is ala tachtaina? Amar Rav Poel yachal lazbay afilu b'chatzi hayom. He holds that a worker is allowed to renege even at midday. So that seems to be that he holds that we don't penalize the worker. So how could you say Yad Poel al atachtaina? So now we need a little definition over here. A kablan is a person that is hired to finish a job. He's hired to weave a beged. He's hired to irrigate a field. And he's hired to do a job. That's a kablan. A sachir is a person is hired for the day. That's called the schir yom. So the Gemara says, "V'chi teima shani leila Reb Daisa bein schiras lekablanis." Maybe he holds that only a kablan that's hired to do a job is cancelled, is penalized if he reneges in the middle of his job. But one who is hired for a day, if he stops at half day, is not penalized. Says the Gemara, Umi Shanile? Does Reb Daisa hold that there's a difference between a kablan and a schir yom? Vatanya, we learned in the Braisa, Haseicher es apoil. Somebody hires a worker, Ulachatzi hayom, and at midday, Shamash Meis Meis, he had an illness. He already lost a relative. Or he got a fever. So im sachiru, if he was hired for the day, noisin loiskarai. You, since he's an inus, you prorate his job, and if he was being paid $100 for the day, and he stops at midday, you give him $50. Im kablanu, if was hired for the job, and he did half the job, nice and like kablanusa, you give him half the pay. Now, money, who's this going like? Ilay Rabbanan, if it's going according to Rabbanan, it doesn't have to be an inus. What's the difference if you heard that a relative died, or he got a fever, honest? Honest nami, even if he's not an inus, the Rabbanan hold that the Yad Poel is al yaina. Rabbanan Yad Poel al yaina. Elalav Reb Daisa. It's going according to Reb Daisa. And we see that the only time is Vishmawin Ali Shani Leila Reb Daisa ben Skiris and Kablanis. Since he says by both Skiris and Kablanis, it's only if he's an Inus that he could renege, and not if he's not an Inus. It doesn't make a difference between Skiris and Kablanis. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak. So Rav Nachman Yitzchak answers, no, here it's talking about Bedavar Ha'ovid. Here it's talking about where if he doesn't finish the job will suffer. No, it's the flax has to be taken out of this keeping pit right away. So if he leaves at half day, the job is going to suffer. And therefore, it's only if he's an inus, because somebody died, or somebody, he got a fever. And then B'divrei HaKol, it's going according to everyone. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, whoever deviates has the weaker hand, and whoever retracts, now, Mishana Yodei al Tachtaina, we're going to see later on, very soon, a Mishnah, famous Mishnah, that if I tell Rich to dye something red, and he dyes it black, so Rabbi Yehuda says that Yodei ala Tachtaina, because he deviated, so his Yodei ala Tachtaina, and therefore if the improvement is more than the expenses, I only have to pay him the expenses. On the other hand, if the expenses is more than the improvement, I only have to pay him the improvement. So this would be a stam Mishnah like Rabbi Yehuda. Bishleim and Kol HaMishani Yodei al Tachtaina, the stamlan tanik Rabbi Yehuda. Whoever reneges Yadei ala Tachtaina, we already said that. We already said that the worker that stops at midday yada ala tachtoina. So when it repeats, kol hachayze bo yada al tachtoina la'asuyei mai, says Gemara, lav la'asuyei, isn't it coming to include a poil, ukreb daisa, and to tell me that not only does he say it by a kablan, by one who is given a job to do, but also for a schir yain. Ela Rav Daisa tarte kamer. Rav Daisa says his halacha both by a kablan and by a schir yain. V'Rav Savalei b'chada, Kavasi b'chada, he holds like him in one case, by the kablan, or Polagalei b'chada, and he argues about it by a schir yain. Or, Iba Yasema, when it says whoever retracts has the weaker hand, it's l'kedetanya. It's coming to include the following brisa. What's the following brisa? I sell a field to AB for $1,000. And AB gives me $200. And he gives me $200. So if I want to back out, and I say, you know what, I changed my mind, I'm not selling you the field. So if I'm not selling the field, but AB paid $200, so there, Yad loy keach al elyoina. AB has the upper hand. Ratza oimer loy tein li ma'osai. He could either say to me, Rabbi Wise, give me back my $200, oy tein li karka keneged ma'osai. Or, I already paid $200, you said you were selling me a field, so give me $200 worth of real estate. And meheichon magviyai, from what kind of real estate? Mino idios, from the best property. Now the Gemara is not going to let this go without a big fight. Why should I have to give AB idios? You're right. He paid me $200, so I owe him $200. But even if I'm a Baal Chayv only pays him Baininus. Why should I have to give him from idios, from the best? So the Gemara is going to talk about that. But if AB wants to retract, AB says, you know, I don't want the field. I changed my mind. So then, Yad Moicher al Elyoina. Then I have the upper hand. I could either return him his $200, I could return him $200, or I could give him $200 worth of real estate, and in this case, since AB backed out, which karka could I give him the $200 from? Minaziburius, from the worst karka. Now, Reb Shimon Gamliel says that we don't want these mishaps to happen. So Reb Shimon Gamliel says we teach the business dealers, you know, this is where Shimon's profession comes in. We teach the business dealers to write where they can't back out, to firm it up. We teach them how to orchestrate a deal that there's no backsies. Ketzad. I write to AB, Ani Pliny ben Pliny Machartes Sada Plinis Lepliny. I sold this field to AB, Be'elev Zuz, V'nosen li mehem Mosayim Zuz. He gave me 200. V'areini noishe b'ches mei Zuz. And I am giving him a loan of another 800 so that the deal should be firmed up. So then there's no backsies, because it's like he paid for the entire field, and AB owes me the $800. In other words, what we say is, is that I sold the field, he gave me 200, and the other 800 is drafted as a loan. So therefore, it's as if he paid me the whole thing already. So Kana, AB acquires the whole field, and he has to pay me back the $800, even after many years. Now, of course, he has to pay me back right away, like a loan. But even if he doesn't pay me back right away, the deal is finished, because it's as if he paid me the whole thing and just converted the other $800 into a loan. So now, we're going to go, as I told you, the Gemara is going to not sit well with this $200 coming from Idias. And what's going on over here? Let's review that. Where I sold the land to AB, and it was $1,000, and the AB gave me $200. And then we said, if I back out, and I don't want to sell it to him, so AB has the upper hand. Either he could say, return me my $200, or he could say, give me $200 worth of karka. What karka? Idias. So the Gemara says that doesn't make sense, as we'll see. Let's see it inside. Where does AB collect from? Mina Idias. Now, he gets from the best of my property. So the Gemara says, I don't understand why. Even if you'll say that I owe AB the $200, no, so I'm a Baal Chayv. And a Baal Chayv doesn't pay from Idias, a Baal Chayv pays from Beininus. V'tanan Baal Chayv dina bebeininus. V'oid, and furthermore, ha'ara diyav zuzay. There's the land that he paid the money for. I should be able to give him $200 of that land. Why should I have to give him $200 of my best land? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, no. When it says that I have to give him $200 of Idias, it means of this $1,000 land that AB wanted to buy, I have to give him $200 from the best part of that land. Me'idya Sheba, or if AB backs out, then I only have to give him Miziburia Sheba. Rav Achabrei Rav Ika has a very novel pshat. This is a very novel pshat. He says, look, AB was going to buy a field for $1,000. In order to buy such a field, he had to liquidate property cheaply, because he wanted to get a hold of my field. And therefore, if I renege, I was mazik him, because he already liquidated money, at least $200, by selling stuff cheaply. Now that he's not getting my stuff, I was mazik him. Oh, as a mazik pays me Idias. Even from the best of my property. Why? Because if AB was looking to buy a land for 1,000 zuz, that means he liquidated some of his properties cheaper than cost price, cheaper than market price, in order to get the good deal. And therefore, since he didn't get the going rate in order to get my field, and now I'm backing it out and not selling it to him, I damaged him. Now, let's go to Reb Shimon Gamliel. And by the way, we said that this is not hard like Ezel Neshech, but that doesn't mean that it's still not very involved and very lengthy. It is. Reb Shimon Gamliel Aimer, Melamdin Oysan, we teach AB and I, Shelo Yazaru, that there shouldn't be a way to unravel the deal. Ketzad Yaz, Ketzad, Kaisiv Lai, I write, Ani Pliny ben Pliny, I, Moshe Meir, ben Aaron Tzvi, am selling Abi the land for $1,000. He gave me $200, and the rest we converted into a loan. Now, time of the Kasav Lehachi. It's only because he wrote this. Haloi Kasav Hachi, Loikani. The deal is not binding, says the Gemara. But why? Vatanya Hanoisene Ravan the Chaverai. If, let's say, Abi was buying a field for me, and he gives me security, Va'amalai, and he says, Im ani chayzebi, Rabbi Weiss, if I back out and I don't complete the deal, ervuni machalach. It's almost like a binder. He gave me a binder. He says, if I don't honor it and I don't go through the purchase, the binder is yours. V'halaymer, and I say, AB, if I don't honor it and I don't sell it to you, im ani chayzebi, if I back out, ech balach ervaynech, I'll double the binder. I'll give you double. So, niskaimu atanoim, these conditions are upheld. Divrei Reb Yossi. Now, of course, these conditions are an asmachta. Remember, we said any de'i is an asmachta. AB was not planning to back out of the deal, and I was not planning to back out of the deal. The fact that Reb Yossi holds that these conditions are binding, Reb Yossi l'tamei, Reb Yossi follows his reasoning. The Amar asmachta kanya, asmachta is kanya. Reb Yehuda says that in the event that AB backs out of the deal and he gave me the $200, dayoy sheyikna keneged ervayna. It's enough that he should acquire equal to the $200 that he gave. Amar Rav Shimon Gamliel, Bamed v'amamurim bizman she'amaloi ervayna yikai. My security should acquire for me. Avamachaloi sad be'elav zuz. But if he sold them a field for 1,000, v'nasalem chamesh mei zuz, and he gave them 500, kana, the din is that he acquires the whole field. This is even if he didn't draft it up as a loan, the rest as a loan. Or mazalei as hashar, and he gives the other $500. I feel kamash on him. So here you see that if he gave a down payment of 500, he acquires the whole thing, even though he didn't craft the other 500 as a loan. Same Reb Shimon Gamliel. Says the Gemara, like cash, there's no difficulty. One is where you see that I was going in and out and looking for the money, trying to get from AB the rest of the payment. And the other teaching, where it doesn't have to be drafted into a loan, is talking about where I'm not looking desperately to be paid the rest of the money. So if you saw that I wanted to get the full money, so that means that I didn't want to convey the whole land until I got the money. And therefore, that's where Reb Shimon Gamliel said in the earlier teaching that the deal is not finalized for the whole thing unless it's crafted into a loan. But where I wasn't looking desperately to get the money, so then you don't have to draft it into a loan. If somebody sold something, and he was looking to get paid the whole thing, like he doesn't acquire. If he's not looking to get paid the whole thing, then he acquires even though he didn't pay the full amount. Okay, we'll stop over here, Rabbi Yisai, and I will tell you now that we did the Mishnah Yomis already, because now we have a beautiful Chumash here on Parshas Emor. I also want to say that I do not have a sponsor this week. I did not succeed in getting a sponsor. If anybody wants to sponsor it, even at a lower rate, they could speak up. But I do not have a sponsor. For normal rate is $360, but right now there's no sponsor. So you can.
I'll give you the 360.
I got, okay. Look at that. Look at that. You see, AB shows up. Now you want to know.
Mazel tov to